My mother sat herself down, sitting up straight-backed in her usual way, in a dress that reached almost to her ankle, a black scarf twisted into use as a hairband, her fringe flattened over her eyebrows. She rubbed gently at her shins and said, "Arthritis, apparently. I'm beginning to be old." Her thick and wavy hair, glorious once, a pinkish gold colour, strawberry blonde, is filling with nylon-like grey. When she was young, she wore it very long, flying behind her like a cape. But it's shorter now and worn up, fixed by what looked like chopsticks. At 52, she's beautiful still, or at least I think so, despite the creases around her eyes and the sad marionette lines around her mouth. But she's aged visibly since this time last year, when a gathering to celebrate a birthday was interrupted by startling news of me that certain of them had kept to themselves. I'm going to tell you about that, about my grandmother Edith's party and what happened afterwards. There have been sad consequences introducing a new era. Not that catastrophe is anything new. The family's had more than an average share of disasters, of premature deaths, one generation after another, such that people refer quite routinely to the power of the Salter curse. We've been going through a phase in which my mother is angry with me, though her visits take a circular shape, starting and ending with kindness. "You were such an idiot," she said to me today. "How could a clever person be so stupid? Why, Michael, why did you put yourself in that position?" Her left hand wiped long tears from her cheeks, the movement rapid, like someone hoping to keep their crying unnoticed. With her right hand, she lifted and dropped handfuls of shingle, pausing to inspect each palmful as it fell, looking at crumbs of grey-green granite, white quartz, and orange sandstone. She has a labourer's hands, square with big flat nails on the ends of workmanlike fingers, residual paint lingering in the creases, her skin rough and red from cleaning and turpentine. The sky was low and lilac-brown this afternoon, the sunlight streaming in fat columns from gaps in the cloud cover, like street lamps pulsing its energy down. When Ottilie turned to face my way, it was as if she looked right at me, though really she was looking back towards the house. Only the uppermost part of it is visible from here, through the trees, above and beyond the lime walk. A glimpse of turret, of crenellation, of the complex slate geometries of a swooping roofline. Some French influence got mixed in with the Scots baronial. It reminds me of an illustration from a book of fairy tales that I had once. A book that had been my mother's. P.T. doesn't have that same Sleeping Beauty's castle look of being enshrouded in vegetation, though the gardens are thick with weed, the rhododendrons feral, the trees untamed, and in every direction elderflower and thorn have woven their grid. The history of the Salters is coming to an end, and if it's hard to be definite about the attributing of malaise, there isn't any doubt that the beginnings reach back to 1970, and the loss of another boy. Ottilie's little brother, my child uncle Sebastian. I've seen it, the death of Sebastian, although it happened before I was born. I've grown used to them now, these cinematic visitations. They started one day out of the blue. I began to see memories that are not mine, that couldn't be. They're seen from the vantage point of someone who wasn't there, as if the estate has its own record, soaked in deep and only just beginning to show itself. My Aunt Ursula's arrival in the drawing room the day I disappeared. That's an event I've seen more than once. Alan's and Ursula's account of my death, Alan's original version. In Alan's old passport he'd written under occupation, handyman gardener, and then he'd added entrepreneur. He doesn't live at PT anymore, but really Alan was only ever the handyman gardener's son, a man without official status, semi-permanently temporary. The first sign of trouble was